Right, so we've got the linkages done now for the transfer box. The front one is your diff lock and the back one is your high and low selector. Welded up on some linkages down there. We probably will chop the ends off the levers and put some threads on, weld a threaded bar there and put some knobs on the top, but for point of purpose that is working. I'm now working on the clutch. It's an air assist clutch so that it's not heavy. So I've got a temporary air feed coming in from over here. And we're just basically hooking up some fluid and bleeding this side of it. It's assisted with air pressure to the cylinder down there, but we're not exactly sure how it works, so we're just going to test it. Right, what you can see here is the clutch pedal out of the Defender. What I've done, obviously this is a much bigger cylinder. This is an inch bore Leyland DAF master cylinder, so I've chopped out this section here entirely. The old cylinder used to sit sort of, you can just see the remains of the flange in there, and I've made up this contraption here to hold this cylinder in, made up a new arm in the middle with adjustment. If I just, I can't operate it now because it's in the vise, but basically it pushes in and it hopefully is going to work like a dream. This then sticks through a small hole in the bulkhead where we put our push fit in, which then goes back to the slave cylinder. Okay, right, the next part of the project is going to be working on the power steering system. Obviously the Land Rover originally had a normal power steering system, whereas the Leyland actually runs a much more high pressure hydraulic pump on the engine, which I think if we couple directly to the power steering pump, from what other people have said, it's going to create some leaks stroke issues. So what we've got here is a pressure regulator, so it's just a bleed valve effectively. So we're in and through on the bottom, and the relief is on the top, which is adjustable via the threads on the top. So I've just been shopping in St Austell for all the fittings I need. So we've got two reducers on there. I've adapted the original Land Rover steel hose with a flared fitting and an olive, so that comes down to a normal 1/2 inch hose. Same on the other end. And then I've also made up the high pressure from the pump over and just got myself a T. I've just screwed some barbs into there for a minute. So that's hopefully going to provide us with what we need to hook up the power steering system. We've also got some oil, power steering fluid and all sorts of other bits and bobs. Just
we have clutch operation.
This pedal is now light as a feather and we're getting full clutch travel.
Temporary rig up.
Yeah, we're just pinching air from the workshop. Right, doing a bit of work again on my Land Rover today. I'm working on the wiring. We're going to actually be running a 24 volt stroke 12 volt system now with the Cummins. So we're going to have two batteries, because 24 volt starter on the engine. We could have put a 12 volt starter on it, but we had a good 24 volt, and to be honest with you, it wouldn't do any harm leaving a 24 volt starter on it. Keep the cable size down a bit, and we can have twice the battery power in there. So we're going to put two batteries in here. I've ran the original Land Rover ground, which grounds the gearbox and the chassis. I've also ran an additional ground, which is this one here, along with the 24 volt power feed that runs sort of across there and up through. So that's actually grounded directly to the starter motor to make sure the starter gets a good ground. And then this will be a 24 volt feed. And then I'll just take a 12 volt tap between the batteries for the ignition feed for the original Land Rover, which I've just routed up here and connected to the main fuse box. So this will be 12 volt. So basically everything in the Land Rover remains 12 volt as normal, and it's just got 24 volt start, and across the alternator is 24 volt, which will charge in series across the batteries, just the same as the starter. Chris is just cutting out part of the dash to add some switches. I've been working on wiring today. So as you can see, I've got a whole load of wires so a relay here for the starter, so that's 12 volt switching 24 volt in the starter. The alternator is wired up. The electric vacuum pump is wired up. I've had a bit of a tidy up, but I haven't finished yet. Oil pressure, temperature, and the wire for the stop side, which is here. I'm just now stripping down the fuel pump to put a higher governor spring in it.
I should have done this while the engine was out, but I didn't have a chance, so I'm just going to take that apart now and do that, and I'll change the solenoid out for a 12 volt one while I'm at it. Yeah.
There you go, so I've just taken the toe of the pump off now and put the other governor spring in. I'm just going to put it back together now. I've also changed the stop solenoid for a 12 volt one, and I've wired it in just while I'm there because it's a lot easier to get at. Right, okay, now that the electrics are all hooked up, and I finished that now, the last little thing really before the engine can be started in the Land Rover is just to sort the fuel lines out. So I'm just underneath here now. I've actually reattached the original Leyland DAF, the two steel downpipes onto the push fit, and I'm actually just going to run the fuel lines up this side of the chassis, across the gearbox, and onto the top of the pump. I just got some normal fuel line here, so I tied that up. You can see in here now, this is the clutch, the fluid side of the clutch coming in the back of the master cylinder there. Save cylinder, should I say, the air assist one. Obviously this is still waiting for prop shafts here. Right, I got all the batteries in now, clamped down, all the connections are on. So we should have got...
That noise you can hear now is the electric vacuum pump. I probably will put that on a relay, just so it only works when the oil pressure's up, so then when the engine's not running it won't run. But for a minute it's on all the time. As you see, the oil pressure lights come on, etc. Technically now, if I was to turn the key, it should crank. I haven't bled the engine or nothing up yet, but there's probably enough diesel in the pump that he would fire. I kind of don't want it to fire for a minute because I've been playing with the governor, and I'm just going to need to get a few bits and pieces ready before I actually turn the key. Otherwise, the electrics are up and running.
Right, so I just left a bit of excess fuel hose hooked up there because I've got a temporary piece of pipe in here. Chris put that together earlier. That isn't going to be what's left there. Really, we just need a fitting to go in the end of here, a barbed fitting, but I don't have one, so we just got a bit of push fit onto a bit of copper there for a minute. So the hoses go up and over and end up in the fuel tank here.